The Longevity Lounge is proudly brought to you by AIA Australia, dedicated to helping Australians live healthier, longer, better lives. This week on the Longevity Lounge, we sit down with Chris Barnes, epigenetic strategist, biohacking pioneer, and founder of Chris Barnes Wellness. Chris isn't an average guru. With over 15 years in the health and wellness space, a degree in holistic health science, and a laser focus on epigenetics, he's devoted his work to decoding our genetic blueprints to slow aging, banish brain fog, reset the body's biological clock, and reclaim vitality. We'll dig deep into the precision coaching programs, genetic test kits, and evidence-backed strategies to turn back the clock. Plus, find out what practical tools you can use starting today. Get ready for a high-vibe, eye-opening conversation with the man who believes aging is only as inevitable as we allow it to be.
Good on you, buddy. We had a chat probably a month ago now. You contacted me, and one of the things that you and I have in common, other than being handsome men, we both had with experiences with mold, and that was the start of our conversation. And off the back of that and what you do, we thought it'd be great to get you on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, Guy. It's definitely a passion area for me. It's an area I know, especially on like the southeast Queensland. It's been so wet up here, mate. So many people are dealing with mold infestations, but for some, it hits a lot harder than others. And I know personally for me, mate, and you, it hit hard. And like the last 5 years for me, I've been kind of detoxing, dealing with the ups and downs of what it can do to the body. And I see a lot of genetic aspects of this as well, and why some people struggle more than others with this.
I mean, Carl knows my background in it. It'll literally stop my world for 1 to 2 years. And the biggest problem I had with mold was that I just didn't know where to go to get the right answers, you know? Like it was literally trying to work out. And the problem you got is when you feel that sick and you've got no energy and you feel like you've got chronic fatigue mixed in with the flu, you just don't have the motivation to sort of go and search, and you just struggle. You really do.
Chris, before you answer that question, just for the listeners who don't really know what, they may have had no exposure or experience with mold as an issue. Can you talk us through, I suppose your experience, what led you to this, and what people have in typical symptoms who are affected by mold?
There's many different types of molds, molds that are found in our foods, found in our environment, and some people are more affected by the toxins that these molds produce. They produce these biotoxins, mycotoxins as they're known, and the symptoms can vary for many people, but the most common ones are cognitive challenges like brain fog, fuzzy thinking, shortness of breath. Some people get flawed with energy, skin flare-ups. I know for me, I personally, I was getting hit from multiple locations, home, work, and my car. I had a water leak in my car that I just didn't know for the best part of 2 or 3 years, and there was mold growing in the back. And for me, gradually, I had this red patch that just started on my cheek and then gradually just kept getting worse and worse. And by the end of it, I was turning up. I was working in a gym, running a gym on the Gold Coast here, and I could feel like the vents blowing on me daily, and my face was red and burning. But cognitively, I felt trapped in this fight or flight state, really stressed. Everything would trigger me. That's one of the real traits of this chronic mold exposure for people. When they're trapped in it for a period of time, their immune system really lights up, and then they get this chronic inflammatory response, and they can go into an environment that's affected by mold and just get hit straight away, or they could eat something and then they get GI upset. It just really lingers. I follow a lot of people that deal with the community groups around this. Some people are just hurting because it's not something that's just quickly resolved as well. It's not a matter of just, you go and do a few saunas and sweat it out, or you literally have to remove yourself from that environment if you're living in it. And that's really challenging for some people.
And that's the first start, right, Chris, is that you can get yourself out of the environment, but it could be a year or more for the body to go and settle down, because you go into another environment. For me, I could walk past a lawn that had cut grass.
Yeah.
It's just, it'd been simmering for a couple of days, and that was enough to put me back into bed for a day. So, and I just couldn't believe it. And then I didn't know that gluten and dairy became a problem because of the inflammation. And the body, I had this, and I didn't know that, right? So I get out of the environment, but take pasta or bread that had gluten in it, and I'd be back in bed again. So I didn't know. So you had to find out what the problem was.
Oh, absolutely. And one thing that I really learned, Guy, just from self-researching, trying to resolve my own issues, that our bodies go into this protective state called cell danger response when we're exposed to a lot of these chronic triggers as well. And that's where a lot of the fatigue comes from, and hormones don't produce at the optimal level. And to reset that, you really have to do a lot of work, right? Like, yes, you've got to remove the triggers. You've got to calm down your nervous system. You've got to lower the inflammatory triggers. And that's really hard in our diet, right? Because there's dairy, there's gluten intolerances, there's processed foods, and then there's just stress. People chronically stressed, not sleeping well, drinking too much. So it is a really complex environment, I find. And that's why healing can be slow. But I know personally, for me, it's like layers. You gradually kind of peel back some of these layers, rebalance the system, things come back online. One of the biggest things that I notice with me personally and some people I've worked with is that they're very sensitive. They become really sensitive to everything, sensitive to the supplements you need to take to try and calm down your system. You may not be able to tolerate the dose that's recommended. And this is a really common trait with a lot of mold infections in people. So it's a really slow process.
You've never dealt with this, Carl? Have you ever had an issue in this area?
No, I actually have only had an issue by listening to you drone on about how bad it was for a couple of years. And something Chris said there sort of piqued my interest that, Chris is obviously used to applying himself to a variety of things. If for someone like you who's never really used your brain before, this whole brain fog thing, like, was it just normal? Like, is that just a normal thing?
Is this you're talking to Sumphead here?
To you, yeah.
One of my nicknames.
Yeah.
I think I went from a state of being in brain fog to a worse version.
Yeah. It felt like that.
But my reality is good. I'm happy.
Oh, I know. My Labrador's just as wrapped. Don't worry about that. So, Chris, can you talk to us a little bit about your business, what you do, who comes to you and why?
I work in the space of genetic health testing and coaching, predominantly men and women in their middle age, 40s to 50s would be the most common clients. But I am seeing a real trend in a lot of younger families doing their children with genetic testing, which is really quite positive in my eyes. They're being a little bit more proactive, more preventative, just to identify some of those genetic weak points, sensitivities, potential genes that play a big role in learning and development and anxiousness in kids, ADHD-like symptoms. They're identifying this early on, and then they can support those through diet, lifestyle, and supplementation as well to bring about just better genetic expression. But I would say, hands down, burnt out men and women running corporate careers, businesses that are just really noticing when they hit their kind of 40s or 50s that they don't have the spark that they used to have, or they're just not supporting themselves in a way that is conducive to longevity in their business or just in health.
Is this because you're up around the Byron area, right, Chris?
I am, mate. I'm based Southern Gold Coast, just near Burleigh.
Yeah, okay. So, and is this? Do you find this is a thing like up there that's probably more popular based on lifestyle? That you get people getting out of sort of Melbourne and Sydney, going up the coast, trying to be a bit more cruisy and a bit more balanced in their life. Is that something that is a thing for where you are, or you've seen this across the country?
Mate, I think it's definitely emerging across the country. I spent 15 years in the fitness industry here in the Gold Coast, and hands down, we've probably got the most gyms per capita anywhere. Very, very health conscious, active demographic on the coast. But in regards to DNA testing, this, I guess I say health optimization, biohacking movement, it's across the country. It's really emerging where we're seeing more events popping up this year in particular, that they're really introducing that whole preventative approach to health, starting to measure your own biology better, track it better, so that you can almost steer a different course with aging. Whereas before, like you would know, let's go to the gym, train, eat healthy, sleep well, don't drink too much. They're the main things we used to focus on. Now there's a lot more health tech coming to the market that can support in other ways. There's a big movement in peptides to be able to enhance our system, slow down the aging process more. So I would definitely say it's an Australia-wide movement.
We've all seen in the Brian Johnson type phenomenon of these people that go to the extreme in what they're doing. I mean, you've got your Peter Attias that are more doctor focused and probably not as extreme as what Brian Johnson's like. Have you found that people like him have helped this industry and you've had people come to you because of that?
Absolutely, Guy. When I started formally in this space back in 2019-20, the conversation on genetic testing was very clinical. Half the people weren't really aware of the benefit. A few people knew that, yeah, you could go to the doctor and maybe get a few genes clinically tested. Then you had guys like Gary Brecker that came to the scene in the last 24 months. Every man and his dog was talking about Gary Brecker because he was talking a lot about genetic methylation testing and these things. Yeah, Brian Johnson, absolutely. He has helped more so in my business with the epigenetic testing. These are the ones where we measure like biological age and pace of aging. But the genetic testing, I would say Gary Brecker, every second person I spoke to for an inquiry, I'm following this guy called Gary Brecker. And I'm like, yeah, I'm familiar with him. So definitely helping.
Carl and I both have done some testing and the like. We're very interested in this whole space as well, obviously. So where do you see it going in the next 5 to 10 years? What's going to be the leap and what's going to happen? What's the average person going to be like within this category?
Going to evolve rapidly, I feel, especially technology space. We can see that already. Just depends on a lot of our governing bodies, I believe, because there's technologies, there's treatments there that I believe will be really healing for people. And these are stem cells, exosomes, the whole peptide space. But they're not that accessible or affordable for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If we can find ways to make them more accessible for the general population and bring the price point down, I think there's a massive opportunity for people to really resolve a lot of the chronic conditions. And I do see a lot of chronic conditions because a lot of people reach out that are really interested in the genetic space because they're exhausted, mainstream medical, when they get told there's not much else you can do, or they're just treating chronic illness and not really getting better. So people are really looking for an alternative. I think, the next 5 to 10 years is going to be massive if it doesn't get too stamped and regulated.
Yeah. We've heard a lot from the bombers in the last 5 years with peptides. You've mentioned it a few times. We've obviously got friends and people that we know who have dabbled in it. BP157, it might be.
Correct.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your experience, like as a clinician or working with your clients in that space?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not a doctor, so I can't prescribe these, but I definitely am aligned with doctors and clinics in Australia that do prescribe them. I really, and I have done training in clinical use for peptides with the genetic course that I did. I find them very intriguing and quite powerful when used strategically, because a lot of these peptides are made naturally within our bodies and they're synthesized from either animal organs or synthesized from food. Very well tolerated, quite a strong safety profile, especially like the BPC157 can be powerful. I've seen firsthand with clients that I've referred to that have a lot of chronic injuries, niggles and shoulder pain from just wear and tear or sport that won't resolve. And they've noticed a big change. They're definitely not a miracle drug or anything like that. And some people, if they don't treat the foundations, the diet, the inflammation, all those things, may not notice the full benefit. But like even with mold, there's a lot of peptides that are being used and researched currently to retrain that overreaction of the immune system, bring inflammation lower. I've personally used immune-based peptides, which are great for rebalancing the immune system. And I think a lot of people could benefit from those because a lot of people are dealing with really low immunity these days, just too much stress, micronutrient deficiencies, and just other factors that have driven their immune system to a really low level. If there's somebody that catches a lot of flus and things, These thymic peptides can just regenerate the function of that thymus, which naturally declines as we age anyway. And then even, Guy, for you, mate, like sharpening up that brain function a bit more. There's peptides.
I listen to Carl. I'm way
not enough peptides in the world for that.
I'm interested too, like we bang on about longevity, the different ways that we can help ourselves and get a baseline, but certainly mindset and the ability to stay motivated, disciplined. I mean, they're the hallmarks of high performance across sport, business, life in general. Do you play in this space as well?
100%. It is the most important thing, I believe, to maintain that mental fortitude when things are tough, when you're down, you're not feeling well. I've noticed how tough days can be when you're not mentally switched on in the manner that you need to be. And like there's clear studies there, Guy, that have shown that whole perception on aging, mindset on aging, if you're somebody that goes, yep, I'm going to keep getting better as I age, I'm going to be more experienced, I'm going to move better, as opposed to, yeah, it's just getting older, right? More niggles, more decline. They've shown in groups that people have actually lived longer just with a more positive outlook on that. So it's everything, mate. I definitely believe that positive mindset integrated with good diet, lifestyle habits is that perfect combination.
I'm interested to know what you think best practice is. You know, you've mentioned some young kids sort of coming in perhaps to get on top of issues, then obviously the 40s and 50s in that stress burnout crisis period that we all see. But I'm not that old yet, so I'm not looking forward to wandering into that space. But what would you don't need to say anything about that, Guy. What would you consider to be the best thing for anyone to do? You know, whether you've just jumped out of school and you're an athlete or you're just a normal person who's just trying to have a great life, is there a level of testing that is right for everyone?
I, hands down, believe that every single person should be gifted this information at birth, right? Just a basic comprehensive genetic panel that gives the insights that's available now, that just lets you know that, yeah, you're unique, because everybody is unique in their biology and their genetics. The slight variations that some people have mean that they just need higher amounts of certain micronutrients. Some people in particular have really poor genetic function on folate metabolism genes like MTHFR. If they're not getting enough of that nutrient, the whole system's going to crash through a thing called methylation, which governs how we produce dopamine, serotonin, those feel-good neurotransmitters, how we detox, how we handle histamines, how we produce energy, creatine. So there's a real cascade if things aren't supported. That information's available for people now. Even I've had clients that have been in their 40s, have dealt with chronic gut issues their whole life. One of them resolved them in weeks. And the biggest trigger was lactose intolerance that he never knew, like his whole life, right? Like just identifying your preference or your potential for certain sensitivities can be game-changing for so many people. I think everyone should have it at some point, ideally sooner in life than later, because then you can just, steer and navigate better through some of those developmental phases that we all have.
What do you say to people that would argue that I don't want to know my deficiencies to the point where I'm afraid to go and have the testing to uncover what's going on? There must be a thing, right?
It is a thing, and I see it in particular with the bio age testing, the epigenetic age. People are like, I don't want to know. I know I'm going to be older than what my calendar age is. I'm like, if you don't know, you can't manage it well, and you want to know these things, right? Even if you've got some really poor coding on your genes. Genes are never 100% deterministic. It's more that epigenetic space, right? Like the diet, the lifestyle, the stress, the relationships you hold can suppress poor coding. Even with cancer genes that a lot of people fear, a lot of it is just the diet, the lifestyle that you're exposed to. Yeah, you can have some risks genetically, but it's not just a gene, right? It's all that other stuff that we have the ownership on. And look, some people don't want to have that ownership. They don't want to, because it's on them, right? It's easier to just sit and go, okay, yeah, I've just got bad genetics, but it's a bit of a myth, really.
So the messaging in your area of expertise to the market should be one of, listen, get hold of it, because most of the changes you can make are lifestyle driven, and you can actually change your outcome because of that.
100%. You can change your entire health destiny based on the food that you eat, the micronutrients that you need, and getting enough of those, the ability to detox well, and just lower your stress level. And all of those things, you can identify your propensity in your genetics, whether you're more prone to stress. If you know your preference with that, then you need to have more supports in there to help manage it. And some people just are more wired for stress genetically. They get more affected by stress. And we see that in the corporate space, right? Like some really driven corporate professionals thrive under pressure and they never burn out. And then others push themselves so far and then they just disintegrate, right?
I was thinking about the nerves of getting tested, and I was thinking back, and my auntie had dementia when she was alive. The last 10, 15 years was really hard. And I'd visit her regularly at the home, and it got worse and worse. And then I realized that I could do a genetic test myself to see whether I had the same, the genes that give you a better chance of having, Alzheimer's, dementia. And I went and did the bloods for that panel to find out. But I was nervous about the outcome based on just doing it. So it is definitely a thing, right, where there are certain tests that you do that, you can help that with lifestyle if you get a bad result with the testing back. But I was just thinking before when you were talking that was nerve-wracking waiting for those 2 weeks.
The guy doesn't help you because, that would have been a wonderful reason or excuse for your cognitive dysfunction, but you're still
here.
He's still wondering. So like, what is it? Why?
Yeah, I need you to ask a decent question.
All right, I'll ask a good question. So what you talked about stress before, Chris, Guy wouldn't probably say this about himself or maybe even know it, but observing him for the last sort of 15 or 20 years, he is a master of managing stress. So he's one of those people that probably without knowing it or maybe quite deliberately through his competitive performance, either self-coaches or has been coached well enough to be able to deal with an inordinate amount of stress. I know your business isn't just about diagnostics, not just about insights, but you've got a very strong coaching bent to what you do. Can you talk to us about that coaching capability, how important that is, how common it is? I know a lot of clinics that will give you the information and sort of say on your way, but give us your insight.
Yeah, really, really good question. So many people that I work with, especially in the initial phases, can get really overwhelmed with all the information. Because when you do a comprehensive genetic panel, you're looking into potentially 70, 80 pages of different health areas. To give somebody that and go, okay, these are all the areas, go away and apply it. Some people, maybe you, Carl, potentially Guy, could go away and apply that straight away. A lot of people get overwhelmed and fear just not knowing where to start. So the coaching aspect is wonderful because you can then start to break it down into chunks, work on first nutritionally, the nutrigenomic aspect of it. What are the things that we actually need to eat that's in line with your genetic needs? Start getting those in place, changing the way that you prepare your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, making sure the macros are right. So we chunk that down, and then potentially sleep's an issue, then work through sleep hygiene. These are all things that not easy just to say, go and do all these things, right? The coaching is hands-on, working through the roadblocks that a lot of people have, and then getting some feedback as we go along and we remeasure and see whether the diet and lifestyle is actually conducive to better biomarker outcomes in blood work and obviously the DNA methylation. We can actually measure nutritionally, cognitive function, inflammation at that DNA methylation point now in some of the testing. So we do that in the coaching. We start off, we do the foundational blueprint. Normally, if somebody signs on for the 12-month coaching program, then we would do your bioage and your pace of aging and get everything as a real benchmark starting point, and then start the coaching, working through the areas, and then remeasure at the 6-month mark. Hopefully see some drastic improvement in bioage, pace of aging, or just nutritional markers, depending on what the goals are.
Yeah.
But coaching is wonderful because it's having somebody in your corner the whole way, and things go up and down, right? You can be feeling awesome. I know for me personally with kind of healing with mold, some days I'm bang on, and then other days I might eat something that triggers me and my gut's off and then my head's off. And people are like that. It's never just linear. Often it's up and down. You start a detox, you feel great, but then you might feel lousy. Just a lot more support.
What's a success story? You don't have to name the person, but give us one where you've done the 12-month journey. What was the baseline? What was the coaching that you did? What you were after, and just where did they end up?
Great question. Biggest one for me was a young guy in his mid-20s working 12 months with him. We did his genetics, true age, which was the epigenetic testing as well, and then really did it just recently after 12 months. He almost reversed his epigenetic and biological age by a decade in that 12-month period. That's probably one of the biggest reversals I've seen. And it was interesting because a lot of the things that we're actually working on weren't high-end longevity protocols. They were correcting his diet, correcting his nutritional status with certain vitamins and minerals, getting him sleeping better. But one of the big things for him also that he acknowledged was an improvement in his relationships. Obviously had a big positive impact on his system as well. So that was probably the biggest biological turnaround in a short period of time. The other one was less to do with bioage, but more to do with just helping somebody overcome like a lifetime of chronic issues. And that was the 40-year-old male that I work with also, that in that short window, we eliminated that lifetime of gut distress just by identifying like some problems with high saturated fat and lactose intolerance. And he had said that he'd been through multiple doctor's appointments in that journey and still never really got to the point. And it seems something so simple, but something so impactful. So it's not always just this glamorous age reversal. Sometimes it's just a tweak of your diet, eating something a little bit different.
And do you find that because you're in this space and you're helping others, that it's good for you too, because it just reinforces what you need to do on a daily basis, because you're giving out the advice, and it probably just reinforces for you what you need to do?
Absolutely, mate. It keeps me accountable. I need to stay up to date with the emerging research that's coming out. I like to apply a lot of these protocols on myself as well with the healing. Yeah, it's really positive for me, mate, just to know that, this space that I've just gravitated to just astounds me every day when I chat to people and they're like, I feel so different making these changes. It screams to me that unique biological approaches, bioidentical approaches to people is definitely the future of our medicine, our healing, treating people individually and not just as, everyone follow this protocol, it's right for everyone. I know that doesn't work because some people just don't respond to the things that others really respond to.
Chris, I'm going to throw something your way. So, we all know people that don't look after themselves. We've all got friends that are sometimes terrific people, sometimes terrible, who can say, but people that don't look after themselves. I know, Guy, you've coached a lot of people that were, Jonathan Coleman was an example, a couple of others that were just fantastic human beings, but for one reason or another couldn't put, the right things in place to be healthy. However, this is what I'm going to go to. There are other people like Guy and myself and a range of other people, particularly who are interested in this, that do everything that they think that they possibly can to be at optimal health. And yet maybe their true age score will come back and it's not so terrific. Do you have those clients as well where they walk in, you go, wow, you're unbelievable, you look terrific. I mean, Guy's about, I don't know how old he's got to be 80, but you look at him and go, you look at 60, you must be doing a lot of good things, but you look under the hood and it's not as, and despite great efforts, like if you look at, their lifestyle actually is good, sleep's good, exercise good, nutritional balance, macros, micros, whatever it might be, really good. Do you get those people that come in that looking for the 1% or to try and troubleshoot what's happened here?
I love that question. And I absolutely do, mate. And I am one of those people. Like I worked in a gym for the best part of 15 years, semi-professional background in rugby league. I knew how to train. I knew how to be active. I was active every day. I was doing some form of exercise. Ate pretty well. May have probably drank more than I needed to in like my 20s and 30s. Don't drink much these days. I took all the right vitamins. And then, I didn't know I was so affected by mold at that time. But I think I was a really good example of people that think that they're doing all the right things, breath work, meditation. Then you look under the hood and you're like, holy shit, inflamed, low immunity, accelerated biological epigenetic age by close to a decade, right? And it was shocking to do that, but it was also very eye-opening for me to go, okay, maybe some of those things aren't working. Maybe I'm not assimilating the food I'm eating. Maybe I'm still too inflamed or stressed. And I think a lot of people need to understand. I see this also with diet trends at the moment, that a lot of people will jump onto carnivore-based eating or keto. And some of those ways can be very healthy for a lot of people. But I see this genetically, and I say genetically, potentially 1 in 4 people have a higher risk from eating those ways with cognitive decline. We spoke about Alzheimer's, dementia, cardiovascular biomarkers, and this is at ApoE4. I see it a lot in people that have those genotypes eating out of alignment with that. We don't know everything, even if we are doing the right things. These types of measurements can just give us a bit more clarity whether the diet and lifestyle is actually really working for us at that cellular level. And you just don't know, right? You think you're doing the right things.
That reminds me of, and that's our next podcast is with Olympic gold medalist Duncan Armstrong.
Oh, yeah.
He was on that the show that did the age calculation, and they ran a series on it. And he was a carnivore diet guy that just ate meat, and he honestly believed that doing that was good for his health. He suffered a heart attack off the back of it, had to change his whole thinking and all the rest of it. So there are people out there that literally pick the wrong diet based on just wrong knowledge and just being the wrong type of makeup for a diet that's just going to put him in a hospital.
It's common, Guy, and so easy to identify how you sit with that. And then you go, okay, maybe fish and chicken and some of those leaner cuts are a better option than the fatty cuts of steak. It's unfortunate that, so many people end up in that fate following what they think is healthy.
Chris, let me come back to you, okay? So you presented with a particular issue. Your biological age wasn't what you wanted it to be, I imagine. The interventions that you've taken on board, and the way that the changes that you've made, have you retested and seen some?
I haven't, not yet, Carl. So I am about 4 months free of mold exposure. I made a point with myself to fully remove myself. Every week I'm feeling better. I've been detoxing, following a few protocols to get rid of mold out of my body that can colonize. I know that I'm feeling better, which is a good sign. I would probably leave it at least 6 months. I'm not rushing back into it. I'm going more subjective at the moment with how I feel, how my energy is resuming. We'll do a retest really, really soon. Yeah.
Took a year for me. Once those mold, it's not a quick fix.
No,
if the alarm systems are off in your body, it's just it takes a long time. So
no, I agree, mate, and I see the kickback at times, which just remind me that I don't want to just go back in and test for the sake of it.
Yeah, and it's not cheap either doing some of these tests.
No, correct.
Well, Chris, we've got a relationship with Melbourne Functional Medicine in Melbourne that do some testing. We've got a relationship with you now. So it seems like our network's growing, and which is only good for our listeners and general community to be able to become a bit more involved in understanding their own body and how they can optimize their health as they age. For people that want to get in touch with you, obviously we'll have all sorts of links on our podcast, anything like that. Any other sort of final messages for listeners?
If you haven't looked into DNA-based testing for you or your family, it will be the best investment you can make to be able to support those unique needs for an entire lifetime. It's a one-off test that you can invest in. You don't need to do that one again, right? It's really
baseline, isn't it, to get you going?
It is. It's a great baseline.
And with that, I think it's time for us to get going. I couldn't wait for that line. It's beautiful. It's like poetry. Thanks so much for joining us, Chris. As always, Guy, great to see you.
Yep.
Thanks so much, Carl. Leachy, great to be here.
Nice seeing you, Chris. Mate, great chat. And Professor, you've been as mediator.
As fun as always. That's right.
Thank you very much.
Until next time.